Why is it that there are so few good games based around Halloween?
Sure, you have a huge number of titles that capture the essence of the holiday, but ones that directly reference it, I'm talking about ones with the word Halloween in the title here, range from bland cash-ins to pure nightmare fuel. And not in a good way.
Still, there must be something out there that's at least half decent. Time, methinks, to look through the vault. So here we have Baby Felix Halloween. I'm telling you, this is one scary game, but perhaps not in the way you'd expect.
No, this game strikes fear into my heart, largely due to some of the facts based around its conception. Firstly, it's based on Felix the cat, a character created in the US, and most popular there, but this game was only released in Europe. That's already baffling enough, but then its Euro exclusivity is made all the more quizzical due to the fact that it's themed around Halloween, something that's celebrated most in America.
If you need proof of this, I live in a small English village, and we haven't had a trick-or-treater for going on 3 years now. Exactly how am I supposed to get rid of these Parma violets?
That's not all though, you don't even play as adult Felix, but as the title would suggest, his baby incarnation. Remember when cartoons went through that baby spin-off phase? Obviously Felix wanted to get in on that action too.
My final point, and yes, I'm almost done on this line of thought now, is that the game was released 6 months after the launch of the Game Boy Advance.
So not only is it a game with an illogical regional release, but also faced being outdated before it even landed in stores.
But do you want to know the really scary part of Baby Felix Halloween? It's actually not that bad.
Developed by bit managers who created stacks of titles for Nintendo handhelds between 1992 and 2003, the game is unsurprisingly a 2D platformer. But despite the genre being overdone on the Game Boy Color, it does at least attempt to mix things up a little.
But let's begin this review at the most logical starting point, the game's introductory cutscene.
Basically the gist is this. Baby Felix and Baby Kitty get lost on the way to a Halloween party and happen to stumble into a haunted house, a place which they coincidentally find their friends have been trapped inside. They naturally decide to save them.
This is the kind of plot setup that would have made Shakespeare hand in his quill out of sheer jealousy.
This whole preamble boils down to you having to make your way through 5 worlds, each with 2 or 3 sections and a final boss to complete. The opening stage begins and it's largely what you might expect. Bouncing pumpkins, nonchalant ghosts, and tennis ball machines, all coupled with a suitably atmospheric soundtrack.
I'm not joking on that last point either. This is some of the best music you'll hear being pumped out of the Game Boy Color.
You can choose from either Felix or his pink-dressed compadre, but you get the same close range and projectile weapons with both, with the latter requiring you to gather ammo pickups scattered around the environments. Sadly, the controls for these are far from perfect, with movement feeling very slippery and too fast for its own good. It's too uneasy a setup for the precision that the combat often demands. The amount of times you'll fly into an enemy that appears too quickly annoys, especially at first, but eventually you do learn to adapt to the game's sometimes off-key rhythm. Once you've done this, there's animations slicker than an oil-laced eel to enjoy too, and visuals which, considering the system they're being run on, have a good amount of charm and detail. The first stage has a simple puzzle to solve and a boss who is far more annoying than you'd expect. Once you've managed to get past this opening chapter, the game decides to drop the Halloween theme altogether though, and throws you straight into a world of brightly coloured mushrooms and miniature dinosaurs. Yes, miniature dinosaurs.
In terms of quality non-sequiturs, I've certainly seen worse.
I like to think that this shift represents Baby Felix's descent into madness, with the house he's trapped in clearly an extended metaphor for his increasingly warped and haunted mind. It's classic psychological horror stuff, really.
Or maybe the developers just wanted to give continuity the middle finger. Either or.
Whatever the case, this does at least demonstrate that bit managers weren't happy with just going through the motions, with the game varying things up much more than your average cartoon licensed dreck. Sure, most of the ideas flung around could be considered clichés, An upwards climb avoiding a rising lava level, for instance, or this boss fight staged on several platforms, but they've been designed with a steady hand and usually a dash of style. Sadly, as the game progresses through the remaining 3 levels, Pirate Island, Outer Space and Western World, a few more problems become evident too.
Namely that the game, like this money box I made in woodwork, possesses some nasty sharper edges.
Although I've already yammered on about the imprecise controls, this can be a cruel game even without them. Don't let the Dayglow cartoon license fool you. There are far more leaps of faith here than there should be, and some deaths do seem unavoidable without the enemy of good design, trial and error, rearing its ugly head.
You do eventually learn to predict the game's cruel ways, of course, but it still occasionally throws a curveball that leaves you flailing.
When combined with the controls, this does mean that the 5 areas will probably take you a while to complete on the higher difficulty levels, despite their brevity, but fortunately there is a simple password system in place. You're treated with a typo in the end cutscene for your troubles if you do manage to tie things up, and there's even a twist ending of sorts, which I won't ruin. I will say that baby Felix doesn't turn out to be Kaiser Sose or a ghost or anything like that, however. So that's Baby Felix Halloween, not a title that's particularly cohesive, but is more fun than you'd expect while it lasts. I'm quite fond of the strange, random, anything goes quality it possesses as well.
It's certainly worth picking up if you can find it for a low enough price too, if only because it's one of the best games that directly references this most horrific of holidays. Finally.
Hey, thanks for watching, I really appreciate it. Please do give this video the thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing, if you haven't already, for more episodes like this. You can see the previous instalment of Handheld history to the left here, and also the other video I've made that mentions the truly haunting sweets that are Parma Violets on the right. It's a retrospective of the SNES's Super Tennis. Bye for now, and happy Halloween.
This guy wants to go trick-or-treating, but he's got no body to go with. Ah, come on, you've heard worse.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!